What is going on, everybody? It's another beautiful day here in Pennsylvania, and I am ready to paint. I'm excited after yesterday. Things worked. I even delivered on my promise, and we got a boom detail cam set up. It may or may not do what I want it to. I can definitely get closer and definitely get better detail, but it's also in the way. So if I have to get close, I have to go underneath or above. So we'll see how this goes. Eight, glad to see you. You're in the chat. Good morning. It's morning for you, isn't it? That's crazy. Thanks for being here at like, what is it, like 6 in the morning or something? That's crazy. But glad to see you here. That's awesome. For me, it's almost bedtime. So just got out of work, ready to stream, ready to paint. We'll see how this goes. Let's get started. So yesterday we made a lot of progress over here. I was not feeling good about that in general, but it worked out. I have no complaints, especially once this hand gets glazed. I think that's going to look excellent. I do need to give the face and especially the mask quite a bit of attention, but I'm not worrying about that now. So I have masked off at least this whole space, except for this central flesh area. And I probably should mask it off, but I'm not going to for now. This is going to require quite a bit of detail. There are a lot of ripples in the I'm cutting myself off from this pink thing here. I'm going to move. So what was I even saying? There's a lot of ripples in the clothing here. Here as well, especially here, it's kind of, I don't even know the word, pleated or crimped, or I don't know. But a lot of detail. We're going to try and block it in today. I do have some of this shape masked off. Am I in the way? I feel like I am. But I haven't masked off the legs yet. So if we get to that point, I'm going to avoid this section. Maybe just block in over here. The way I'm going to do it is a little different than what you would normally do in direct painting. Most people would cover the whole thing in a solid color and then work, your main shadows in, your main highlights, and then kind of flex over time as you add more paint. Because I want my paint to still be at least slightly transparent or translucent, like the sky here. I'm going to skip the first step, and I'm just going to paint in large blocks of value. So I'm going to start with probably the shadows first. I think that might be easier, but we'll see how it goes. I'm actually running out of space on my palette, so we're gonna have to work something out there. But anyway, that's what's on the agenda. If by some miracle we finish this, we get so much done here, we have to tape off the legs, and then we finish that, there is still some of the dress up here that we can tape off and work on that. So let's see how it goes. I guess the first step is we need to mix our color, and it's going to be the same color as the mask. So it's going to be a greenish blue, kind of on the dark side of blue. So it is 1 million degrees in my studio. I need to take a drink real quick. And then we started. So one thing, I did not check and make sure my camera was lined up. Over here, that pink line is there so I don't have to match it like pixel perfect with the detail cam. So that just gives me a little bit of leeway, but it looks good. We're ready to go. So I'm going to start mixing. I'm going to shut up, start mixing, and see how it goes. So again, we're going to have our two blues. We're going to mix these. Maybe we're not. Maybe I'm going to try without cerulean, just ultramarine. And our warm yellow. It's going to give us the greenish blue we want. I'm going to need quite a bit because that is a pretty big area, and I'm going to be, you know what? I'm going to add a little bit more to my palette because this color is going to be the base for the highlights and the shadows as well. So we'll see how it goes. Need a little bit of this yellow. Need our palette knife, and we're gonna start mixing. So Eights, I was able to check out your work yesterday after the stream, and it is awesome. Did you like just start streaming? Have you been streaming for a while? It looked like you had a pretty sweet setup. I'm guessing you've been streaming a while. And yet again, my mineral spirits are open, which is a definite bad thing. I'm not sure I'm getting the green I want. Might just be a little too dark to tell. Started streaming this March. You know, that's about when I started streaming too. I was streaming video games for a few weeks to kind of get the hang of it. And I mean, I love video games. The goal was to stream both, but I realized that mixing them is not easy. I'd have two potentially different types of people watching, and I just kind of scrapped the idea. The whole point, the reason I'm streaming is to motivate myself to paint. So I'm not too worried about building an audience too much. I mean, it's cool if it happens. I mean, I obviously want to, I want people to see my artwork, but the real goal is just to paint more, because if I'm not streaming, I don't paint that often, and I feel like I should be. So that's the goal here. So the color we got is super dark. So maybe we'll just start with shadows. This is kind of cool on the cool blue side. So it might be good to push the shadows back in space. Oh, my cat's going crazy. Pepper, come here. We'll get you on camera again. So I'm not totally sold on this color. I don't even know if you can see it. It's so dark. So we'll put it down. We'll see how it goes. If we have to change it, we have to change it. Even on the paper towel, it's super dark, even when it thins. So let's just try it out. I am going to use a filbert brush for this. It's kind of just a combination of a round and a flat. This one here I think will be good. Kind of want to go a little smaller, but maybe not yet. So I've got to open my medium here. Yeah, you stream to keep motivation to draw. For me, it seems like it's the only way. If I don't have people holding me accountable by having like a strict schedule, I'm gonna come home from work and I'm gonna want to play video games or play guitar or something. So just got to do it. Glad to see my artwork so beautiful. Thanks. That is awesome to hear. You know what? Hold on one second. I haven't done this yet. I'm going to show off. I'm going to flex a little bit, and I'm going to show off another painting. It'll take me 1 second. So let me see if I can fit this on screen somehow. This was the last painting I finished before this. Let me see if I can. It is framed already. So I can't really go much higher without hitting the ceiling, but so that it's, I want to say like 2.5 feet by maybe 4 feet, something like that. It's already framed, ready to go. It's prepped on a wooden panel, ready to hang, but it weighs a ton. So hopefully this one is as successful as this one. I guess we'll see. So you can find it on Instagram. It's also on my intro screen and everything. It probably looks familiar already. It's so big. Yeah, I mean, this probably took, I want to say probably pretty close to 80 to 100 hours. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of bad at estimating. because the flesh is all indirect. So let me see if I can prop this up somehow. All the flesh is all indirects with a flesh color glazed over top. Basically everything else is direct. Even the paint on the hood and the cloak is actually pretty thick. I don't know if you can see the texture, but it's thicker than I typically paint. But I like the contrast of the smooth flesh and the highly textured cloak. So I'm gonna set this over here for a second. So the ultimate goal is to get enough work for a solo show, but working so big just takes forever. So eventually, assuming I keep streaming, we'll get there eventually. So this is kind of difficult to work around, but I think we can do it. So I'm gonna start laying in the shadow. I need to make sure I don't get paint all over my iPad. So this is gonna be kind of tough, but we got this. Oh, damn it. I already forgot to get some medium on my brush. I can tell already now that I'm thinning this out that this is not green enough at all. It's hardly even like taken down in saturation at all. So I'm just gonna add in a little bit more. So I'm thinking once I replace this crappy camera, I might use this to make a palette camera. Not that my palette is anything to look at, but it's probably better than me just like mixing something off screen. Yeah, I can imagine it must take a long time. Yeah, it does, especially when you don't work on it much. Like that I just showed you, I worked on like an hour a day for probably the better part of 2 years, year and a half. This I've already been working on a year, but not very frequently. So I've probably made more progress in the last 3 weeks that I've been streaming painting than I've made in the last year. So okay, this might be what we're looking for. Let's see how it goes. So I'm going to cover this up here, but I think should be able to see pretty well on the detail cam. So I'll try not to cover too much, but we'll see how it goes. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to use my grid here to use as a reference. So I'm going to do a big like triangular shape here, and that's going to out here. So it starts right up here, and it goes down to about right here. I'm just going to lay it in that shape. And actually, it's going to connect right here. Let's It's going to be a nice fluid curve right there. And this is going to kind of go back into space like that. And it's going to move forward. This. And then this is going to do something like that. Then this comes out a little bit more here. And this connects directly to that thumb knuckle. Sounds like the music stopped already. Let me get that going. Oh God, not this one. I feel like all of these songs sound the same, and it's only been 3 weeks. I'm trying to add a few every time, but God, do they sound the same. They're free to use on stream and in YouTube videos, so I've been trying to grab them as much as I can. They're called Stream Beats on YouTube. Licensed by a guy named Harris Heller, I think his name is. It's kind of like a Twitch coach, I guess you could call him. But he made them. They're free to use for now, at least until he sells the license and they decide to charge and steal everyone's money. Till then, I'm just going to use them. I have no other option. I'm not going to like whistle the whole time. So we have one last ripple here, and it is right there. And now this is solid vein. So we can also already kind of see the structure going on here. So this is going to be tough with this brush, but we're going to make a real thin section. It's going to thicken here. It's going to go all the way to this organizational line here. And then this is right above the wrist bone. This might be a little dark here. Okay. The next one starts pretty much right here. Okay, next, it's up here. Okay, so right now it's looking like a zebra. That's what happens when you don't block in a solid color first. It will look a lot better once we get this highlight color in. I think it's just going to be two colors. I think it's going to be the shadow and the highlight, and then we'll blend them when we get to that point. See how it goes. Right now I'm not getting too detailed. I'm just blocking in the major shadows. They're going to change. I'm going to let this cure eventually and paint over top of it. It's really just a base, kind of like this is. So, so far, doesn't look bad, I guess. Certainly not gonna make me jump with joy yet, but we'll get there. How does it look on the detail kit? Oh, you know what? I bet you a lot of what I did was even cut off. There we go. Now you can see the whole thing. All right. So So this one is very thick, so I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. Definitely don't want anything thick at this point. It's also going to kind of blend things together, so there's no super sharp edges. So we definitely don't want sharp edges at this point, at this stage. So, starting to think that we're definitely going to end up working on this, which is not anticipated and not great because I need to do some masking. Maybe we'll do this first because this is going to be easy to mask. I don't know. We'll wing it. We're still winging it. This tape is coming up. So right now I'm really just trying to make sure that things are relatively accurate. A lot of texture right here at the top. Oh, this tape keeps coming up. So for now, that's going to hold the shape of this dress. Right now, I'm just going to kind of eyeball some things and just make them look like they flow a little bit better. This tape is going to drive me crazy. So, again, sometimes I wonder if I'm just a finger painter, a glorified finger painter. So, that went well. Definitely need to make sure that the middle values, which are going to act like highlights, are a bit more green, and that's going to make them stand out a little bit more. So this upper section is very, very different, and I'm going to switch to a different brush. I wipe the excess paint off before I try and clean this. Probably use a little more paint thinner, but for now I'll be all right. Hey, you know what? My paint thinner is right here. I'm going to grab some. So, this stuff doesn't seem like it's sealed, which is never good. You want to be careful. This stuff does have fumes. If you do try your luck at oil painting. It also doesn't pour out of these things very well, so I just made a mess. But yeah, it's definitely, this isn't airtight anymore. That's concerning, but whatever. I'll just asphyxiate myself. Okay, now that's sorted out. This is working surprisingly well. I don't have a way to mount my camera to, this is actually a microphone stand. So the size of the mounting screw for a microphone is much bigger than the mounting screw for a camera. So I had to do a pretty epic tape job there. I don't know if you can tell how awful that is, but it's pretty awful. All right, so this brush is clean, and now we're going to switch to a smaller filbert, and we're going to do a little bit tighter shadow work here. So this is going to be tough to see, but we'll see how it goes. I also don't have tape here, so I am really pressing my luck. I'm almost entirely in shadow. It's going to be hard to do and not get it on this part that's indirectly painted. Pressed it in a little too far there. It's okay for now. This is interesting.